Kol ha-neshama tehallel hallelujah. Kol ha-neshama tehallel hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, ya na na na, hallelujah, hallelujah. Shema tehallel hallelujah. Kol ha-neshama tehallel hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 ya na na na, hallelujah, hallelujah. Neshama tehallel hallelujah. Kol ha-neshama tehallel hallelujah. Shabbat Shalom. I know some of you were there at the concert I did for the Council of Christians and Jews on Wednesday night. And the one thing I just want to reiterate, and why I love that psalm so much, Psalm 150, everything that has breath, praise the eternal. And the psalm tells us how. And the answer is with music, with harp and with lute and with lyre and with trumpets, shofars, with drums, everything that has breath, praise the eternal. I know it's tough, and because I try to bring music wherever I go, it's what I do. I've been playing musical instruments for 43 out of my 50 years, and the resistance is always people who are uncomfortable with their own singing voice and uncomfortable with their own musicality, and what do I do in that space? And the answer is in the psalm. Everything that has breath, praise the eternal. we find some way, as Psalm 100 says, make a joyful noise to the eternal. It doesn't say an in-tune noise. It doesn't say make a perfect pitched noise. It doesn't say make a noise that should come out of a conservatory. It says make a joyful noise to the Lord. The analogy I use is that Judaism without music is much like a Van Gogh painting without color. Now, Van Gogh's sketches are amazing, but I'm talking about Starry, Starry Night in black and white. Something is lost there. And of course, there's beautiful, dignified ways that we can speak the words of our tradition. But music bypasses our consciousness, and we spend way too darn much time in our heads in the 21st century as we try to wrap ourselves around religion. There's an experiential aspect. We don't bind ourselves together into a unit that can do good in the world simply by thinking about it. We do it by joining our thoughts and our hearts and our souls. And the way to bypass our conscious minds that are oftentimes telling us, this is silly, this is ridiculous, why am I doing this? Is to just do it, to make a joyful noise to the Lord. All that have breath, sing to the Lord. So let's do it. It's Friday evening. We've got to find our way to Shabbat. We've got to find a way to bring light to the world, and what a better way to do that is to symbolize it through actually bringing light, and then metaphorize it by joining together in a higher purpose. I don't know what that higher purpose is. That's your job, is to figure out what your kavanah is, what we get out of this together. Hopefully it's more than just, to say that I've done it. Hopefully it is to bring us to a place where our heart breaks a little bit, and we're that much more willing to help someone who needs help. We're that much more willing to forgive someone who needs forgiveness. We're that much more willing to say that we need forgiveness from someone else. With that, please rise, and let's bless our Shabbos candles together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher krishan b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, lehadlik ner, shel Shabbat. We begin on page 111. We work our way through the week consciously. We try to find our way to Shabbat consciously. At the same time, while we are consciously working through prayers, we also then start disengaging our mind, letting our voices take over, letting our hearts take over, letting that which praises the eternal take over. Lehu neranena l'Adonai, Lehu neranena l'Adonai, Naria l'tzur yishenu, Naria l'tzur yishenu, Nekad ma'afanav betoda, v'zmiro naria lo. Nekad ma'afanav betoda, v'zmiro naria lo. Ki el gadol Adonai, u'melech gadol hakol Elohim. Ki el gadol Adonai, u'melech gadol hakol Elohim. Asher ben makre aretz metofot arim lo, Asher lo yambehu asahu ve'beshet yadav yatzaru. Boi nishtachave v'nichra'a, nivcha livnei Adonai Hoseinu, ki hu Eloheinu v'nachnu amarito v'tzon yado, hayom kolo tishma'u. Bottom of 112. Shiru לאדוני, שיר חדש שירו לאדוני, כל הארץ. שירו לאדוני, שיר חדש שירו לאדוני, כל הארץ. שירו לאדוני, ברכו שמו, בסרו מיום ליום ישועתו. שירו לאדוני, ברכו שמו, בסרו מיום ליום ישועתו. ספרו לגויים כבודו בכל העמים, נפלאותיו כי גדול אדוני, ומהולל מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים. כי כל אלוהי העמים אלילים, ואדוני שמיים עשה, עוד והדר לפניו, עוז ותפארת במקדשו. אהבו לאדוני משפחות עמים, הבו לאדוני כבוד ועוז. אהבו לאדוני כבוד שמו, שיאו מנחה ובואו לחצרותיו. השתחוו לאדוני בהדרת קודש, חילו מפניו כל הארץ. אמרו הגויים אדוני מלך, אף תיכון תבל בתימות, ידין עמים במישרים. ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ. ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ. ירם הים, ירם הים, ירם הים ומלואו. ירם הים, ירם הים, ירם הים ומלואו. ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ, ירם הים ומלואו. יעלו שדי וכל אשר בו, אז עם כל עצי יער. לפני אדוני קיווה לשפוט הארץ, לשפוט ובצדק, ועמים באמונתו. אדוני מלך, תגל הארץ, ישמחו עם רבים, ענן ורפל סביבת צדק משפט, מכון כיסו. Bottom of 115. אור זרוע לצדיק וישרי לב שמחה. אור זרוע לצדיק וישרי לב שמחה. שמחו צדיקים באדוני, באדוני, והודו לזכר קודשו, לזכר קודשו. אור זרוע לצדיק וישרי לב שמחה. זרוע לצדיק וישרי לב שמחה. עצמו שירו לאדוני, שיר חדש, כי נפלאות עשה. הושיע לו ימינו וזרועו, קודשו הודיע אדוני, ישועתו לעיני הגויים, גילה צדקתו. זכר חסדו, ישועתו לבית ישראל, לבית ישראל. יא נה נה נה, יא נה נה, יא נה נה, יא נה 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 נה. אדוני מלך יגזו עמים, יושב כרובים תנות הארץ. אדוני ציון גדול ורם על כל העמים, ירשמך גדול ונורא, קדוש הוא. Bottom of 118. רוממו, רוממו, אדוני אלוהינו, רוממו, רוממו, אדוני, רוממו, רוממו, אדוני אלוהינו, רוממו, רוממו, אדוני. והשתחוו להר קודשו, והשתחוו להר קודשו, והשתחוו להר קודשו וקודשו. כי קדוש, כי קדוש, אדוני אלוהינו, כי קדוש, כי קדוש אדוני. כי קדוש, כי קדוש, אדוני אלוהינו, כי קדוש, כי קדוש אדוני. וישתחוו להר קודשו, וישתחוו להר קודשו, וישתחוו להר קודשו וקודשו. וישתחוו להר קודשו, וישתחוו להר קודשו, וישתחוו להר קודשו וקודשו. Havu l'Adonai b'ne'eli, Havu l'Adonai kavod va'oz yahinai. Havu l'Adonai kavod shemo, ishtakhvu l'Adonai behadrot kodesh. Kol Adonai al hamayim el hakavod hirim. Adonai al ma'i rabim, Adonai בכוח יעינני כל אדוני בידן כל אדוני שובר ארזים וישבר אדוני את עזי אבנון וירקידם כמו עגל לבנון בציריון כמו בן רעמים יעינני כל אדוני חוצה למודל כל אדוני יכיל מדבר יכיל אדוני מדבר קדש כל אדוני יכול אל איילות היחסות וחלות הוא לא אומר כבוד יעינני אדוני למה בול ישב וישב אדוני מלך לעולם אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן אדוני יברך את עמו שלום יעני ני 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 שמו וזכור בדיבור אחד השמיענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד שם תפארת בלי תהילה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה כי היא מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוך סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה ביקטש מלך ימלוך קומיצאי מתוך האפך הרב לקשם ובעמק הבחבור יחמול עלי חמלה ינך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה התנערי מאפר קומי שבקתה טיפתך מעל יד פנישי בטלח מקראת בעל נפשי גהיאלה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה התעוררי כי באורך ומאורי אורי שדבר כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה לא תבושי ולא תגעלמי מה תשתוכחי ומה תמי בך לקבלה, והיו לצ'יסה שעושייך ורחקו כל מבלייך, יסיס עלייך אלוהייך, נמסוך קטן הקלה לחדודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה לחדודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה, ימין ושמאל תפרוצי ואת אדוני תריצי על יד איש בן פרצי ונשמחה ונגילה לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי שלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי כלה, בואי כלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. צדיקת אמר יפרח, כארז בלבנון יזכה, שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו, עוד ינובון בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו להגיד, כי ישר אדוני צורי צורי, ולא הבלתה בו. אדוני מלך גאות לבש, לבש אדוני עוז התזר, אף תיכון תבל בל תמות. נכון כיסך מאז מעולם עתה. נשאו נהרות אדוני, נשאו נהרות קולם, יישאו נהרות דוח ים. מקולות מים רבים אדירים משברי ים, מקולות מים רבים אדירים משברי ים, אדיר במרום אדוני, אדיר במרום אדוני. מקולות מים רבים אדירים משברי ים, מקולות מים רבים אדירים משברי ים, אדיר במרות אדוני, אדיר במרום אדוני, אדיר במרום אדוני. מקולות מים רבים אדירים משברי ים, מקולות מים רבים אדירים משברי ים, אדיר במרום אדוני, אדיר Adonai. Adir Mamarom Adonai. Adir Mamarom Adonai. Bless the living God whom we are called to bless. Blessed is the living God whom we are called to bless forever and ever. Page 128. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chochma potech sharim uvitvuna mishaneh itim umachalnif et hazmanim umsader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kitzono Bore yom v'layla golelo mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or ma'avir yom u'mevi layla u'mavdil ben yom u'vein layla Adonai tzvot shemo Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim Ahavat olam bet Yisrael, Amecha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otan limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu, b'shokbenu uvkumenu, nasiach b'chukecha, v'nismach v'na'alos b'divrei Toratecha, ובמצוותיך וחוקותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגי יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב את עמו ישראל. Nai, 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 yai, nai, 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 yai, nai, nai, yai, nai, nai, yai, nai, nai, yai, nai, nai, nai. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Malchuto leolam va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele Asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevecha v'shinantam levanecha v'darta bam b'shiftecha b'veitecha v'letecha v'derech u'shochbecha u'kumecha u'kshartam neot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beinenecha u'chtavtam amzuzot beitecha u'visharecha. Continuing silence on 132. ימי השמיים על הארץ. למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני, אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני, אדוני אלוהיכם. אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת ואמונה, כל זאת וקיים. עלינו והוא אדוני אלוהינו ואין זולתו, ואנחנו ישראל עמו. העושה גדולות עד אין חקר, ונפלאות עד אין מספר. וראו וענב גבורתו שיבחו, והודו לשמו ומלכותו מרצון קיבלו עליהם. משה ומרים ובני ישראל לך שירה בשמחה רבה, ויאמרו כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש נורא, תהילות אוסף אלי, נורא אוסף אלי. מלכותך אדוני אלוהינו, רובנך על הים. יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגולו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, לשלום, והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, לשלום, והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים. Source of our life and our sovereign, cause us to lie down in peace and rise again to enjoy life. Spread over us the covering of your peace, Guide us for your good counsel and save us for the sake of your name. Be a shield about us, turning away every enemy, disease, violence, hunger, and sorrow. Remove the temptation that awaits us and the guilt that lies behind us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you are a God who guards and protects us, a ruler of mercy and compassion. Guard us when we go out and when we come in to enjoy life and peace both now and forever, and spread over us the shelter of your peace. Blessed are you, eternal, spreading the shelter of peace over us, over your people Israel, and over all the world. Baruch atah Adonai, haporesu kat shalom aleinu, ve'al amo Yisrael, ve'al kol ha'olam. Ve'shameru b'nei Yisrael, et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת, לדורותם ברית העולם, יענני ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. Please rise for our silent Amidah, beginning on page 140. Adonai, safetai tiftach, ufi yagid tefilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu. If you're still davening, just put this on pause. Take as long as you need. Listen, children, to a story that was written long ago about a kingdom on a mountain and a valley folk below. On the mountain was a treasure buried deep beneath a stone, and the valley people swore they'd have it for their very own. Go ahead and hate your neighbor. Go ahead and cheat a friend. Do it in the name of heaven. You can justify it in the end. There won't be any trumpets blowing come the judgment day. And on the bloody morning after, one tin soldier rides away. So the people of the valley sent a message up the hill, asking for the buried treasure, tons of gold for which they'd kill. And came the answer from the kingdom, with our brothers we shall share all the secrets of our mountain, all the riches buried there. Go ahead and hate your neighbor, and go ahead and cheat a friend. Do it in the name of heaven, and justify it in the end. There won't be any trumpets blowing come the judgment day. On the bloody morning after, one tin soldier rides away. Now the valley cried with anger, mount your horses, draw your sword. And they killed the mountain people, sure they'd won their just reward. Now they stood out beside the treasure, on the mountain dark and red, turned the stone and looked beneath it. Peace on earth was all it said. You can go ahead and hate your neighbor, go ahead and cheat a friend. Do it in the name of heaven and justify it in the end. There won't be any trumpets blowing come the judgment day. For on the bloody morning after, one tin soldier rides away. Haven't gotten my Peter, Paul, and Mary on in quite enough time, so the opportunity seemed to present itself. As I said last week, if you weren't here, for the last of my time here, I'm going to give myself a limit, an obfuscation, something that will change the nature of the sermons for the last few months. And I started last week, and I will continue to focus on symbols that we find in our parshiot. And appropriately, as we step into Parashat Yitro, which includes the 10 utterances, hopefully by now you know that I'm talking about the 10 commandments, but I hate the term 10 commandments because it's not 10 commandments, it's 10 utterances. I am the eternal your God is not a commandment, it's a proclamation. So the Aseret HaDibrot, the 10 utterances. And of course, we get the tablets, we get the law on a mountain, Mount Sinai. And of course, if we look at our various religious traditions, well, we talk about mountaintop experiences. How many things take place that are mystical or transformative on a mountain versus a valley? How many times have we gone down to the valley to get tablets of law, or gone into the valley to achieve enlightenment or to find nirvana? The mountain is clearly a pretty universal symbol for the giving of something divine, for revelation, as it were. And of course, in One Tin Soldier, which I know that I'm dating myself horribly, that was when my brother and I took guitar lessons when I was 6 years old. The only time I tried to play it before a few years ago, that was Puff the Magic Dragon and One Tin Soldier were two of the first ones that we worked on. Puff the Magic Dragon, yes, I know what it's all about these days. Thank you. For Kitisa, I will do my Kane Bosum sermon probably this year. Anyway, I wanted to just explore why the mountain. Why is it that the tablets can only come on the mountain? And it's fascinating within Judaism. There's a recognition of this reaching high up concept. And a fascinating midrash in our tradition is that Mount Sinai is the lowest of all mountains. We actually don't know which mountain Mount Sinai is, but the lowest of all mountains, so that the giving of Torah could be seen as something humble. I want us to keep that midrash in mind as we work through this, because I want to explore the question, why mountaintop? Right, we don't go to the valley to see the guru, to see the hermit in the cave in the valley. It's the hermit on top of the mountain. And I want to explore it in three different areas. And you know what? Let's even give it an acronym. It's EFP. How does that sound like? If you want to use this for practical purposes, then you can just remember EFP. And E stands for effort. Why do we gain insight? Why do we have mystical experience on the mountain? Well, it starts with effort. Now, I'm not saying that there's not effort to go down from the mountain once you've climbed. I'll finish off with talking about coming back down from the mountain. It definitely takes a specific sort of balance, certainly. And it still is going to wear the heck out of your legs. If you think that running down a mountain is easy, that's when you're going to really injure yourself. But the effort, the actual, we call it the stair climber in exercise, not the stair descender, right? The effort of climbing the mountain tells us something about mystical experience. You don't just get it. It's like Shabbat. How many times have I said that we have to do some work to get there? It's called Kabbalat Shabbat, the receiving of Shabbat. It's not the dumping of Shabbat upon us. Receiving is an act. We hold out our arms. We take something. You can't just stand here and receive something. If someone hands me a book and I don't reach out my arms to make some effort, the book's going to fall on the floor. It's an obvious symbol. But climbing is a different effort than remaining in the valley, than being in the valley or falling into the valley. There's something about gaining revelation or allowing the universe the opportunity to be in a revelatory dialogue with us that is predicated on the fact that we put some work into it. Judaism is kind of the same thing, isn't it? We don't get anything out of it just because we're Jews. And yes, I know that is just slightly polemic, but our tradition is more than bagels and lox. It is not only a peoplehood, it is also a religion. And we are not complete unless we are engaging in both. The peoplehood aspect, the tribal aspect, is a huge aspect of who we are, but only equal that of engaging in our tradition, our religious, our ritualistic, our musical, our prayer tradition. And as a matter of fact, those who I think struggle the most when it comes to moments of mourning, it's those who have not been engaged in the religion of Judaism, because how can you use religion as a comfort if you haven't engaged in it? I know that's hard to hear, but a prayer is only comfort if you know how to step into a place of prayer. EFT, F, fear. It's interesting, psychologists have narrowed it down to 5 universal fears that all human beings share, and most of them can be found somewhere on a mountain. The fear of extinction is one of them, and that's typified in the universal fear of the precipice, that when we feel that feeling in our stomach falling as we step up to a cliff, it is the fear of extinction. Of course, the fear of maiming, falling down a mountain, and so forth. Climbing the mountain is much more terrifying than staying in the valley. The valley around us is what's familiar. The mountain, who knows what comes around the next bend as we climb up it. The mountain causes us to face universal fears. The mountain is not a promise. It's not given. Our village is in the valley. We can walk from house to house. That's the path that we know. It's the place that we have to exist. But the mountain is the place that we face something greater. I think that this image is one of the ones that's getting really, really hard to convince people of, because we have begun elevating more and more our traumas. And one of the wisdoms of the last century is that we talk about them, that we don't hide them. How incredibly important it is that we have places where we can express the things that have happened to us so that we can work through them and heal them, face the fear of it. But the valley is the place where we exist completely, constantly, and forever within our traumas. Climbing the mountain is climbing out of that place. It's overcoming it. And it is terrifying because oftentimes our identities are the identities of the valley. We become our traumas. We don't know who we are if we step past them. Our friendship group might be based on our traumas. But yet, the mystical experience, the mountaintop experience, the revelation doesn't come from the trauma. It comes from working through it, no matter how difficult it is, no matter if the effort is similar to that of, well, climbing a mountain. And finally, EFP, perspective. So that thing about being in the valley is, it's what I'm used to seeing. I grew up in a series of valleys. You've heard of, hopefully, even in this country, you've heard of Montana, the big sky country. The sky is bigger in Montana than anywhere else on the face of this planet. If you haven't been there, you can't believe me. You're just going to have to visit it someday. I grew up in a town of between 5,000 and 10,000 people, depending on the type of economic depression going through it. It was a copper smelting town that got shut down in the process of, there were more bars than churches at one point, which is where a lot of those who worked in the smelter descended to. But growing up in Anaconda, Montana, where I was until I was 8 years old, the thought of traveling to New York was equivalent for those growing up in a larger city of, just kind of a normal sort of thing. But for those of us in Anaconda, it would have been like traveling to Europe, ironically enough. And the thought of ever going to Europe when you grow up in Anaconda would have been like going to the moon. Just no one did it. We knew no one who would do such a thing. We lived in our valley, quite literally. You couldn't see anything other than these high walls filled with the ruins of the earlier smelter in the city. So when you climb that first mountain, when you grow up in a place like Anaconda, Montana, you literally see more than you've ever seen before. And that's the thing. When we're in our valley, we see what we're used to. We're not challenged by anything different. There's beautiful things about growing up in a small town like Anaconda, and there's horrible things. But what's interesting, since I still have relatives in the town, is the things that are beautiful about it and the things that are truly horrifying about it are the exact same things that were beautiful and horrifying 50 years ago and 50 years before that. It hasn't changed because you don't leave the valley. You don't get a larger perspective. You don't see that maybe how things are done, how they've always been done there, might just not be helping the people to move forward and live a more fulfilling life. So we climb to the mountaintop and we see more than we've ever seen before. It's part of the reason that revelation can only happen there, because how can we ever have revelation with not taking in new information, without seeing new ritual, without seeing a new type of person who smells differently because they have different foods or have different skin color or have a different background? How can we ever learn anything about ourselves unless we've seen someone different than ourselves? And then faced that, yes, let's call it fear, because any time that we see the other, and that word should be terrifying to hear, well, we see fear, because the other reminds us that our way of doing things isn't the only way to do it. Oh, sure, we can just say they do it wrong and we do it right. But that is the mentality of staying in the valley, not the mentality of looking across the vistas of existence. So before we leave this metaphor behind, a word about coming down from the mountain. Mountaintop experiences are awesome. Yes, I know, your favorite word. I don't mean it that way. I don't mean California dialect. I don't mean the annoying American dialect that I've brought here to North England. I'm talking about Nora. I'm talking about awe-inspiring. I'm talking about wordlessness. I'm talking about what Abraham Yeshua Heschel called radical amazement. Not that the more we learn about science, the less we know about God, but more that the more we look at the beauty of nature and understand it, the more in awe we are at the greatness and vastness of the universe. That awesomeness when we stand on the mountaintop and we question ourselves for the first time and the universe shrinks to the size of something we can see on the tip of our finger. And for 1 second we understand how small we are, but how important our existence is. And then we shrink back to our own size. and we forget the words, but we retain an echo of them. See, the danger is the same danger that anyone who's tried to run down a mountain experiences. It's easier to fall when you're coming down. You waste all of your energy getting to the top, and you forget that we do still need to live life. It's why in Kabbalat you're not supposed to study it until you're actually partnered and until you've studied Torah for many years of your life. Why? Because you need to be grounded when you enter mystical experience, because the danger is exactly what we've seen over and over again in human history. Someone has a mountaintop experience and says, that was amazing, because of course it was. It's so amazing, it opened me up to truth, so it must open you up to truth as well. So my truth has to become your truth. It'd be very similar to someone climbing a vista like Mount Everest and taking a snapshot. I can't imagine them coming back down and saying, see this snapshot? This is the experience of what it's like to be on the summit. Of course it's not. It's absurd beyond all human comprehension. I actually don't want to go to that summit, thank you very much, but I'm not going to have the arrogance on my side to believe I can ever understand what the experience of someone is who's been up to that peak, any more than they can understand what it's been like to be at the summits that I've explored in my life, or any more than I can understand the heights that you've reached in your life. But so much that we should be aware of that arrogance, how much the arrogance that when we come back down, because our experience was so profound, that we somehow demand that someone else honor our experience as their experience. That's religion at its most damning. That's saying you must believe as I believe. That's converting by the sword. Our mountaintop experience in Judaism left us with 10 utterances that include we're all part of the same reality. Don't lie, don't steal. Live an existence where what you have is what's important, not what your neighbor has. Treat your parents with kindness and set aside a day where you unplug from what is causing you the deep depression, what's causing you the overload, what's causing you the burnout. We didn't say put it up in courtrooms around the world. We didn't say when it came back down, if you don't believe this, we will kill you. Why do religions do that? It's because someone was so excited with what they learned in the mountaintop. Well, how many of our individual experiences do we do the same thing? I understand the truth now. It's my truth. You have to honor the same truth. And if you don't, you are a bad person. The reason that our religion is dialogic is so I can come down from my mountain, you can come down from yours, and we can talk about it. We can learn from each other. We can once again see a larger perspective than our own. We can combine our mountaintops and see further. Make that distance that we've experienced something that has no end. When we've all bound ourselves together by honoring each other's mountaintop, each other's life experience of climbing up to the top, each other's challenges. Not that you have to experience mine, but we have to equally honor each other's. How profoundly does our society change? How profoundly do we as human beings change? So there it is. Our symbol is a mountain. Tomorrow the symbols are the tablets of law. So why mountaintop? Because quite frankly, it's the harder path. But it's the path that allows us to go beyond ourselves. And isn't that really what the 10 utterances in our revelation of our tradition is all about? Shabbat Shalom. We are on page 310. Please rise for Elena. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tekru l'etzeh bereshit, asher b'chabar mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu, shehu notei shamayim ve'yoser haaretz, u'moshav yekaro b'shamayim mima'al, u'shchinatu zo, begovei meromim, hu Eloheinu ein od, emet malkeinu efes ulato, kakatuv b'torato, ve'yadata hayom, ve'hashevota el levavecha, Ki Adonai hu Elohim, b'shamayim mima'al, ve'al ha'aretz, mitachat einod. V'ne'emar, ve'haya Adonai, L'melech al kol haaretz. Bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. We step now into our place of mourning together for those that we have lost in recent days and those that we have lost in previous years. This week in our community, we have the awful responsibility of mourning with Albie, with Cantor Haidt, for the loss of the sudden and unexpected loss of his mother, Helena Sarah Haidt, wife of Chazan Henry, as well as Chazan Albie. May our memory be for a blessing, and I know that some of us within the community have written our regards. I think if you wish to send your best wishes and condolences, Albie is sitting Shiva right now, but this is where we as a community can always join in for the painful loss of one that's a part of us. Also, this week, we commemorate the loss of Captain Tom Moore, who has been in this country such an amazing inspiration. Boy, I did not know who this person was a year ago, and Katrina and I just broke into tears when we found the news. So, yeah, interesting how someone, through interesting effort and overcoming fear, and through perseverance and the perspective that you gain from that, can elevate us all. We just found out as well that a few hours ago we lost the actor Christopher Plummer. I'll probably do something from The Sound of Music tomorrow in the service, but it just feels like we're losing so many people right now this year. We also continue to be in mourning with Linda Harrison at the loss of her son Emmanuel as Linda finishes up her period of Shloshim. May Emmanuel's memory as well forever be a blessing. In our community, we think of those that we've lost at this time in previous years. Specifically this week, we think of Kathleen Pollack, the mother of Griselda Pollack. We think of David Swirsky, the husband of Nicole Levine, and Lorna Swirsky, the mother-in-law of Nicole Levine. We think of Maxton Brooker, the father of Kim McGreal. And we think of Audelie Ellman, the aunt of Paul White, of Viv Mountain and of Val Magendorf. We think of Annie Shapiro, the mother of Morton Shapiro, and of Harold Hyatt, the husband of Anita Hyatt. We think of Walter Grant, the father of Michael Grant, and of Percy Samuel, the father of Deborah Samuel. We think of Hyman Berger, the father of Martin Berger, and of Rhoda Karp, the mother of Graham Kahn. We think of Margot Levinson, the sister of Jennifer Booker, and of Harry Berger, father of Louis Berger, mourned by the entire Sinai family, along with Heinz Bergman and Elizabeth Bernheim. Zichronam Levacha, may all of their memories forever be a blessing. Of course, there are always names that need to be called out, and I will continue to evoke the butterfly effect that, a butterfly flaps his wings and something large happens on the other side of the planet. When we say things out loud, who knows what intentionality is put out into the universe. So if you have someone that you are mourning who has not been listed, please call out their name right now. Zechronam levacha, may all of their memories be for a blessing. If you are in a state of mourning or commemorating Yortzeit, I invite you to stand first. And the rest of us rise in solidarity as we turn to 316 and enter into this place of mourning in support and elevating those who are saying Kaddish at home. Yitgadal. Shalom bimroma, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru, amen. May the source of strength grant strength to all those who are in mourning. May we all say, amen. A few announcements before we close out the service. Next adult education is this Sunday, 7th of February, 3:30. So I've kind of truncated the schedule so I could get in as much as possible before, I think April 7th is the last class now. And so if you've ever had any curiosity, this week's class is on the streams of Judaism. So why Reform, why Masorti, why Orthodox, the simple three, but renewal, Reconstructionalist, open Orthodoxy, rational Orthodoxy, Heredyism. So all those different questions, where they came from, other groups throughout time like the Mitnagdim, the rise of the Hasidim, Karaite Judaism. If some of those don't sound familiar, then it might be a good class to join in. Just jump into our calendar online, and you can still sign up even this far into it. Every week is slightly different. We also still are offering Sidurim. Seriously, if you're still using the flip book, get on to our website, buy one of these, have it at home. Books in the hands. There is a very special birthday coming up. Again, I don't know if I'm giving it away on what's happening. Just go to the website and look at the information. You can join in. It's really cool. It's really special. This is a birthday that if we are not able to celebrate in this community, then shame on us. So go onto the website and honor this member of our community. Birthday's on 22nd of February, so get that going. And apparently the first one was a wonderful success. So the next virtual trip is going to be a virtual trekking across northern Israel. It's another fundraiser for Sinai. Sunday, 21st of February, 7 p.m. Dreaming of getting away and exploring somewhere new, professional tour guide Josh Hatuv will be joining us again live from Israel, leading us from sea to sea on another of his virtual guided and narrated tours. Places are limited, must be booked online in advance. Again, I don't see, last time it was 10 quid. Again, if you've got a few extra quid rolling around, put that in there. Donate high, double high, 10 high. If you don't know what that is, then look that up and donate that. That will be your punishment for not knowing what high or double high or 10 high is as we support our communities. And with that, coming back in the morning, so let's finish with a little Oseh Shalom, and I guess I've got some dinner to eat at home. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Shabbat shalom, everyone. For those of you still here for Kiddush, join with me. We are on page 452, and grab yourself some fruit of the vine. We learned before the service today that Eliyahu only drinks Manischewitz, so just new piece of information there. ויער ויבוקר יום השישי ויחול השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם ויחל אלוהים ביום שביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה וישפוט ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. סברי חבריי, ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצבנו, ושבת קודשו באהבה ורצון הנחלנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת לחיים. לחיים. And for those of you still here, pour yourself a little bit something stronger as we do a little fabringen together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shechol niyeh b'dvaro. L'chaim, l'chaim. Take care of yourselves, everyone. Thank you for being here with me. Shabbat shalom.